Hey, what's up guys, it's me Anwarev again back with another video. So this video is part 4 of the Devil Fruit series, and if you haven't seen part 1, 2, or 3, I'll put the links in the description down below. But before that, please don't forget to subscribe to my channel and leave a like on this video. So if you're new to this channel, if you didn't know, I'm doing this by how they were sequenced in the anime and not by their types. So I'm gonna be talking about their types, basic functions, and obviously their strength and weaknesses. So without further ado, let's go. Okay, so first is we have the Zozo no Mi, or the elephant fruit, which is owned by Funkfried. The Zozo no Mi is a Zoan type devil fruit that allows the user to transform into an elephant hybrid and a full elephant at will. It was eaten by Spandam's sword, Funkfried, through the process developed by Vegapunk. The most basic strength of the fruit is that it gives the user the strength of an elephant. In the case of Spandam's sword, the fruit's major strength is that it has given life to an otherwise inanimate object. With this, Spandam has been given a unique weapon with which to fight. The fruit so far does not seem to have any specific weaknesses outside the standard devil fruit weaknesses. The animal created from this fruit, however, has somewhat of a minor weakness with it considering the circumstances around it. While the fruit has given Spandam's sword the strength and intelligence of an elephant, the fruit inadvertently also in a sense gave the sword some common sense in the matters of pain and death. This was best seen when Frankie threatened to shoot Funkfried in the face. While the sword may not have been alive to begin with, it was afraid of being killed by Frankie like a real elephant would be in such a situation. In other words, the fear of being killed was instilled into the sword thanks to the power of the fruit. Next is we have the Ushi Ushi no Mi model giraffe, or the Ox Ox fruit model giraffe, which is owned by Kaku. The Ushi Ushi no Mi model giraffe is a Zoan type devil fruit that allows the user to transform into a giraffe hybrid and a full giraffe at will, making the user a giraffe human. The fruit's major strength, as demonstrated by Kaku, is that it gives its user more strength and longer reach in their hybrid form. Initially, the powers of the fruit to turn into a giraffe and a half-giraffe were mocked due to the animal itself and Kaku's rather blocky half-giraffe form respectively. This mockery, however, was soon put aside when Kaku demonstrated how effective and deadly he was in his half-giraffe form. It has been noted by Zoro that the user of this fruit apparently has unique weaknesses of having a long and very exposed neck which an attacker could exploit. This weakness, however, is not fully exploited due to Kaku's maneuvers, and is instead made into a strength in several of Kaku's moves. Other than that, the user is affected also by the standard devil fruit weaknesses. Next is we have the Inu Inu no Mi model wolf, or dog fruit model wolf, which is owned by Jabra. The Inu Inu no Mi model wolf is a Zoan type devil fruit that allows its user to transform into a wolf hybrid, which also resembles a werewolf and a full wolf at will, making the user a wolf human. The fruit's major strength, as demonstrated by Jabra, is that the user gains more physical strength in their hybrid and wolf forms, equivalent to that of a real wolf and more. Any physical fighting style that the user has, like the Rokoshiki for example, is generally made more lethal with the additional strength bestowed upon them. The user is also granted with the additional weapons of claws and fangs, which can be used effectively in attacks, and can greatly increase the potency of their normal fighting style techniques, as was demonstrated by Jabra's far more lethal Shigan while in his half-wolf form. Being a carnivorous Zoan, Jabra is a more ferocious fighter than standard Zoan users. The fruit so far does not seem to have any specific weaknesses outside the standard devil fruit weaknesses. Next is we have the Awawa no Mi, or the bubble fruit, which is owned by Khalifa. The Awawa no Mi is a Paramecia type devil fruit that allows the user to emit and control soap and bubbles that cannot only clean off dirt but can also clean off power, making the user a soap human. So guys, don't confuse this with a Loge power, because the user cannot turn themselves into soap or bubbles. The fruit's major strength, as demonstrated by Khalifa, is that it gives the user the ability to emit and control soap and bubbles from their body. These bubbles are created from the user's body and can even manifest while the user is wearing gloves. The bubbles are also capable of not only cleaning off dirt, but also can clean off someone's power. The user can thus essentially drain their opponent's energy with these bubbles and leave them in a clean and shiny state that is extremely smooth. The user can also shield themselves from attacks by condensing these bubbles together around themselves and encasing themselves into a giant bar of soap. However, the user's bubbles can be washed away by water. Likewise, their smooth opponents can be returned to normal by being washed by water. Also, although it will not nullify the bubble's effects, a strong wind will blow them away before they can drain the target of their energy. Other than these, the user is also affected by the standard devil fruit weaknesses. Next is we have the Berry Berry no Mi, or the Berry Berry fruit, which is owned by Very Good. The Berry Berry no Mi is a Paramecia type devil fruit that allows the user to transform their body parts into a multitude of orbs or spheres shaped like the round parts of berries, making the user a grape human. The only strength of the fruit so far seen is that the user is apparently immune to blunt attacks like the Bara Bara no Mi is to cutting. By turning into berry-shaped balls, an attack like Frankie's strong right appears to be nullified. In the anime, it is shown that the user's body can float in mid-air like Buggy. Unlike the Bara Bara no Mi, the Berry Berry no Mi's powers allows the user to levitate all separate parts of his body, including the feet. Unfortunately for the user, what it makes up for the Bara Bara no Mi's weakness is that it sacrifices the latter's strength, as in the anime the user is not immune to sharp objects, which is how Zoro defeated Very Good. It also seems like the user can only transform his whole body at once in these spheres, unlike Buggy, who can use his power on selected body parts. It is also shown in the anime that the user is completely defenseless if their head is caught. Other than that, the user is also affected by the standard devil fruit weaknesses. Next is we have the Sabi Sabi no Mi, or the Rust Rust fruit, which is owned by Shu. The Sabi Sabi no Mi is a Paramecia type devil fruit that allows the user to cause metallic items to rust and come apart, making the user a rust human. The major strength of the fruit so far seen is that the user is able to rust and pull apart metallic weapons such as swords. Doing so apparently gives the user somewhat of an advantage against sword-wielding opponents. It has been shown the powers of the fruit give the user a permanent defense against swords and other metal weapons. A sword simply touching the user's body will immediately rust and come apart before a cut can be made. It has also been shown in the anime that the powers of the fruit can also affect the human body. However, if used on a living thing, the rusting effect seems to be reversible for as long as it does not entirely oxidize the entity in question, since Zoro was seen reverting quickly back to normal after Shu's grip on him was thrown off by Usopp's projectile. Apart from that, the user does not seem to have any other specific weaknesses outside the standard devil fruit weaknesses. So next is we have the Yami Yami no Mi, or the Dark Dark fruit, which is owned by Blackbeard. The Yami Yami no Mi is a Logia type devil fruit that allows the user to create, control, and transform into darkness at will, making the user a darkness human. This fruit is considered unique, even for a Logia type, and the ability it grants is said to be the most evil. The first and foremost strength, as demonstrated by Blackbeard, is that it allows the user to control darkness and its unique property of gravity. The darkness is visually demonstrated by a black smoke-like substance spreading out from the user's body. The darkness is a void that devours and crushes everything. Due to this, the user can absorb physical matter and attacks of any type by sucking it into the darkness. The user can also use this ability to irresistibly pull the opponent to them, regardless of their current state. Similar to a black hole, the user can absorb everything inside a vortex. It seems that it does not completely compress and annihilate that which is sucked in it as an actual black hole would do, but rather creates some form of space where things are stored. Blackbeard was able to suck an entire city into it, and when eventually regurgitated, everything expelled was reduced to scraps but not completely destroyed. The guards of Impel Down that Blackbeard sucked in also survived, although they were heavily wounded and in shock. The most unique and frightening advantage of the fruit is that the user also has the ability to nullify the powers of other devil fruits by simply touching the user and draining them of their abilities. All types of devil fruit, be it Paramecia, Zoan, or Logia, are affected by this, though Logias are most affected as they can no longer become intangible by transforming into their respective element. Also, unlike the Sea and Sea Stone being only able to prevent devil fruit users from controlling their powers, and Armament Haki users being only able to bypass the defensive aspects such as Logia's intangibility or the Gomu Gomu no Mi's malleability of rubber, his nullification of devil fruit powers truly seem absolute, as though the devil fruit users had never gained their powers at all. This was shown when Luffy's stretching powers were completely cancelled on touch, allowing Blackbeard to injure the Rubberman by simply throwing him into the ground, while it was shown earlier when Luffy was stuck underwater that his neck could still be stretched above the water surface, and that Bushoku Haki would allow blunt attacks such as Garp's punches and a flick from Rayleigh's finger to cause him pain despite being rubber. This essentially makes the user a natural enemy to all other devil fruit users. When Blackbeard took the Gura Gura no Mi from Whitebeard's corpse via an unknown method, he claimed that with the power of darkness that reduces anything to nothingness, combined with the power of quakes which bring destructions to all, he was truly invincible and the strongest. The major strength of this particular fruit, the darkness the user turns into that swallows up everything, is also its major weakness. Since the darkness also absorbs attacks, the user of the fruit is still vulnerable to attacks, which do not pass through the darkness they turn into. If they fail to absorb an attack in time, the user can be hurt like any other normal human being or even more, as stated by Blackbeard. In addition, while the ability to nullify devil fruit abilities is very powerful, the user must actually touch and remain in contact with the victim for effects to remain constant, meaning that if the victim is somehow separated from the user's physical touch, they will quickly regain their devil fruit abilities. However, it seems this power can be overcome in certain situations. Whitebeard somehow managed to activate his powers even with his hand around Blackbeard's neck, somehow ignoring the nullification of his devil fruit powers through physical contact. It is possible that Whitebeard used his haki to nullify the effects, but it is also possible that Blackbeard actually has to touch the other user rather than the user touching him, similar to how Crocodile has to use his right hand to absorb liquid. However, it seems that touching bare skin is not required, as Blackbeard was capable of nullifying Luffy's powers at Impel Down by touching his clothes, overall suggesting that his hand must be touching the person or material on the person for it to work. Nonetheless, considering the aforementioned attraction ability due to his powers, if the opponent is strong enough to break his grip without the aid of their Devil Fruit, they will regain their respective Devil Fruit powers. Other than that, the user is also affected by the standard Devil Fruit weaknesses. Next is the Atsu Atsu no Mi, or the Hot Hot fruit, which is owned by Don Akshino. The Atsu Atsu no Mi is a Paramecia type devil fruit that gives the user the ability to produce and control vast amounts of heat, making them a 10,000 degree human. The major strength of the fruit, as demonstrated by Don Akshino, is that its user gains the ability to produce and control vastly more amounts of heat than can be normally produced by a regular person. This also has the added side effect of causing steam to emanate from their body. The Devil Fruit user can use this heat to melt anything they touch. The user is also able to use it to either protect themselves from physical blows by creating a scorching hot layer of heat around their body, or attack opponents with various heat-based attacks. Because the user has the ability to regulate their body temperature, they are able to withstand varying temperatures of extreme magnitude, from being surrounded by the freezing cold of a winter island to being completely immersed in molten lava, which is not even the Mera Mera no Mi permits. The heat produced is also affected by the user's temperament. If the user is calm, the heat that is produced is moderately safe. However, if the user is angry in any sort of way, the temperature of the heat that is produced becomes so dangerously high that the user can melt everything or anything around him. Their heat can also drastically affect the environment around the user and can wake up sleeping volcanoes in the vicinity. Other than that, the user is also affected by the standard Devil Fruit weaknesses. Next is the Horo Horo no Mi, or the Hollow Hollow fruit, which is owned by Perona. The Horo Horo no Mi is a Paramecia type devil fruit that allows the user to produce ghosts, making the user a spirit human. The major strength of the fruit, as demonstrated by Perona, is that it gives the user its ability to produce ghosts known as hollows, which they can control. These hollows come in different forms, which are all immune to physical attacks. The most basic of these forms are the negative hollows. Should a person have a negative hollow pass through them or vice versa, they will immediately fall on their knees and become very negative about themselves, sometimes to the point of wanting to commit suicide. Though the power of the negative hollows is seemingly impossible to overcome or resist, no matter how hardened one's spirit is, it cannot affect anyone who is originally pessimistic about themselves. This was demonstrated when several of Perona's negative hollows passed through Usopp, who due to being pessimistic about his own abilities was completely unaffected by them. In fact, the third time Perona tried it on him with 4 ghosts instead of 1, Usopp's negativity caused their power to backfire on Perona and her negative hollows, resulting in them collapsing in negativity instead. She can also produce small round ghosts called mini hollows, or large round ghosts called Toku hollows, which have the ability to create shockwave explosions. The strength of the explosions is directly proportional to the size of the ghost. The larger the ghost, the more powerful the explosion. Should Perona wish to, she can link her consciousness to many negative hollows in order to create her ghost network. The ghost network is what she uses to gather information about events occurring on Thriller Bark. She can also use this ability as a form of astral projection. Perona projects her own hollow or spirit which looks exactly like her, is impervious to physical attack, can summon ghosts, change size, fly, and is intangible. However, in order to use either of these abilities, Perona's physical body must remain limp and unconscious. While she's protecting her spirit, the only way to harm Perona is to injure her defenseless, unconscious body. After the time skip, Perona can use some of the powers formerly exclusive to her astral projection, such as flight without leaving her body. Other than that, the user is affected by the standard devil fruit weaknesses. So, the next and the last fruit is the Yomi Yomi no Mi, or the Revive Revive fruit, which is owned by Brook. The Yomi Yomi no Mi is a Paramecia type devil fruit which enhances the user's soul to the point where they resurrect after their first death, allowing them to live a second time and to use several other soul-based abilities, making the user a revived human. The major strength of the fruit, as demonstrated by Brook, is that it gives its user another chance at life after dying once before, and thereby a literal second chance at living. After death, the user continues to exist in whatever state they were revived as, and can go as far as grant a form of immortality that lasts until the user suffers a second death. However, since the main attribute of the fruit is resurrection, the Yomi Yomi no Mi's power will remain dormant until the time when the consumer suffers his or her first death. As a result, until such time, the only aspects the fruit bestows upon its eaters are the typical devil fruit weaknesses. While the fruit allows the user's soul to once again return from the afterlife, it does not automatically return them to their physical body that it once resided during its mortal life. Thus, it is then up to the disembodied soul to search for the corporeal body in order to once again reunite with it. Though the user gains another life, their body will however continue being a lifeless corpse and will continue rotting away until the user's soul can find its way back to its body. When the user's soul returns to the body, the powers of the devil fruit will fortunately support the user's well-being in the case that their body may be in a condition unable to support life. While the fruit can make the user an undead being of sorts, it however grants the user the ability to still feel pain as proof that they have been truly resurrected back to life, regardless of what physical condition they have been revived in. This is noteworthy because it separates the power of the Yomi Yomi no Mi from the zombies created by the Kage Kage no Mi. Because although both powers work to make the dead come alive again, the Kage Kage no Mi zombies do not feel pain because they are not truly alive at all. However, the susceptibility to sensation seems to be selective, since Brook was able to traverse Punk Hazard's frozen terrain without any signs of discomfort, while the rest of the Straw Hats were shivering in comparison. It may possibly be that Brook is immune to damage that is based on impacting one's tissue, as he carried the petrified Kinemon out of the new H2S compound without much incident, or before when one of the Smiley's blobs hissed gas on his face, he wasn't affected. Another case of this comes from Brook showcasing immunity towards electrocution at least in 2 different occasions. Brook demonstrated a new power of his devil fruit on Fishman Island after the time skip. Brook's soul that came back to inhabit his skeleton is still able to leave the body, usually by exiting his mouth, similar to astral projection, and it moves everywhere it wants to. It can even pass through walls, similar to Perona's own astral projection power. In the anime, it was shown as Brook saying the word bone multiple times like a mantra of some sort, and then this spectral form leaves through his mouth, leaving his body seemingly colorless. When Brook is in spectral form, it mostly resembles his skeletal face and is engulfed in spiritual flames. It appears to be not only visible but also audible to both people and animals, since Zoro and Usopp were seen being able to converse with Brook while in this form, and Papag was shown scampering away from Brook in this state, mistaking the skeleton soul as a ghost, therefore frightening the starfish. It is currently unknown as to how far the extent can Brook maintain his separation of the soul from his body, or if there are any limits about it at all. However, the main weakness to this ability is that while Brook has his soul out of his body, he cannot use or move his physical body and has to have someone guard him so that Brook won't be harmed. During his fight with Zeyo, Brook reveals that in the past 2 years he has become to know the true power of his devil fruit. The soul of a human that died is supposed to go to the land of the dead and stay there, but for his soul to exist in the human world, it emits a powerful energy. Therefore, the power that allows him to live in the human world is neither organs or muscles, but rather his soul. As long as his bones are not hurt, the attacks will not go into his core. When Zeyo beheaded Brook, his soul managed to repair it and connect his bones together again. He has also displayed that he can transfer this energy to an object like his cane sword, in which he summons the chills of the underworld, allowing him to freeze his opponent. Lastly, he has stated that he can feel the souls of the others, and when mixed with his music, he is able to move them. This fruit also gives the user certain advantages over the user of the Soro Soro no Mi. Brook is capable of using the raw energy and presence of his own powerful soul to overwhelm the homies due to them being created from small pieces of souls that do not belong to them. The effects of this are virtually similar to Haushoku Haki. It renders the homies unconscious and immobile. This advantage is decreased against homies made from Big Mom's own soul, as Brook cannot overwhelm them, but he is capable of injuring them as well. Okay guys, that's all for today's video. I hope you learned something and enjoyed this video, and if you did, leave a thumbs up to this video and please subscribe to my channel for more videos like this, and be sure to also watch my older videos as well for you guys to be entertained. And okay, so that's all for today's video again. I'm Rev and see you in the next one. Bye, yours.